Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Unshackled. Today, I need you to do something different. I need you to set aside everything you think you know about learning English. Forget the verb lists. Forget the grammar apps. Just for a moment. This is not another English lesson. Honestly, this is an intervention. I believe it's a rescue mission. Because today, we're here to find and save a very specific person. And I have a feeling that person might be you. I'm talking about the invisible student. Let me paint a picture for you. You're sitting in a university seminar. Maybe it's business, engineering, or art history. It doesn't matter. The professor is a genius, and they've just posed a brilliant, challenging question to the room. And in that instant, a light goes on in your head. You know the answer. Not just the answer, but the nuance. You can see the connections, the counter-arguments. The words are right there, bubbling up in your mind. A perfect, insightful contribution. But then, it happens. A cold wave of anxiety washes over you. Your heart starts to hammer against your ribs. A voice in your head, a voice that sounds suspiciously like your own, starts whispering, "What if you mispronounce a key word? What if your sentence structure is clumsy? What if they ask you a follow-up question and you freeze? What if everyone secretly thinks your accent is stupid?" Your mind, once a source of brilliant insight, suddenly feels like a cage. It feels chained. And so, you hesitate. That moment of hesitation is all it takes. Someone else raises their hand. They give a simpler, less insightful answer, but they say it with confidence. The professor nods, intrigued. "Good point," they say, and the entire conversation, the entire intellectual energy of the room, follows that confident voice. And you? You just sit there. You become invisible. Your brilliant idea, the one that could have defined the entire seminar, dies in the silence. You feel a familiar, bitter mix of frustration at yourself and resentment for the situation. It's the academic pain of knowing you are capable, of knowing you are smart, but feeling utterly, hopelessly paralyzed. That feeling, that specific, soul-crushing experience, that is what we are going to systematically dismantle and destroy today. And I know this feeling intimately because I used to be the chief resident of that invisible island. For years, my potential was trapped behind a wall of fear. But I found a way out. I didn't just find a new study trick. I discovered a fundamental shift in approach. A three-step process designed not to teach you more English, but to activate the vast reservoir of English you already possess. This is the key to transforming from a passive listener into an active, respected participant in your own academic life. This is how you stop hoping to be called on and start leading the conversation. So, I need your full attention. Stay with me through this entire session, because near the end, I will share the one single powerful sentence you must tell yourself 5 minutes before any presentation, any interview, any high-stakes conversation that will systematically eliminate 90% of your performance anxiety. This isn't just a tip. It's a psychological tool. You don't want to miss it. Let me take you back. Let me tell you a story that I've never shared on this channel before. It was the second year of my university studies, a moment that became a painful but pivotal turning point. I was enrolled in a course called International Marketing Strategies. It was a tough class, and the final guest lecturer was a legitimate titan of the industry, the European marketing director for a major sportswear brand. He was charismatic, sharp, and commanded the room. He presented a fascinating case study about the brand's failed entry into the Brazilian market in the early 2000s. He laid out all the data, the focus groups, the ad campaigns. At the end, he leaned against the lectern, looked out at the 100-plus students, and asked a simple question. So, based on everything you've seen, what was the single, critical, cultural misstep they made? My hand should have shot up. It should have. The night before, I had been procrastinating by falling down a research rabbit hole, and I had stumbled upon an academic paper written by a Brazilian sociologist that analyzed this exact campaign. I knew the answer. It wasn't about the price, or the product, or the TV ads. It was a deep cultural misunderstanding of how community and sports intersect in Brazil. I had the details, the author's name, the core argument. It was a perfect A-plus answer. I opened my mouth, and then nothing. An absolute void. The whispers of doubt became a deafening roar. Don't be the try-hard international student. Your explanation will be too complicated. You'll stumble over the word sociological. In that moment of internal chaos, a guy a few rows ahead of me, a friendly but notoriously unprepared student named Alex, raised his hand. He said, with a shrug, "Maybe. The price was too high for the local economy?" It wasn't a bad answer, but it was superficial. It was the most obvious, surface-level observation. But the lecturer seized it. "Interesting point, Alex," he said. "Let's unpack that. What does too high really mean in a market with such income disparity?" And just like that, Alex was in a dialogue with a marketing genius. The next 20 minutes were a master class, all stemming from Alex's simple, confident question. He became the star of the lecture. I sank in my chair. It felt like I was physically shrinking. I was a ghost. My body was in the room, but my intellect, my preparation, my voice, they were all locked away in a prison of my own making. The walk back to my dorm that afternoon was one of the longest of my life. It wasn't just disappointment. It was a profound sense of shame. I had been a diligent student of English for over a decade. I had spent thousands of hours trying to learn English. My shelves were lined with grammar workbooks. My phone was filled with flashcard apps. I meticulously compiled lists of English vocabulary and phrasal verbs. I had aced my TOEFL. I could write a complex essay on literary themes, no problem. I had the knowledge. I had done the work. I had all the puzzle pieces, but I was completely incapable of putting them together when it mattered. That was the day I declared war on traditional learning methods. They had failed me. They were built on a lie. The lie is that knowledge equals ability. The lie is that if you just learn one more grammar rule, or 100 more vocabulary words, you will magically become fluent and confident. It's not true. They gave me a deep understanding of the language's architecture, English grammar, but left me terrified to live inside the building. They taught me how to analyze, but not how to communicate. They prepared me to be a language scholar, not a native speaker impersonator. I realized my problem wasn't an English problem. It was a performance problem. It was a confidence problem. My mind was chained by the perfectionist fallacy, the belief that I had to be flawless before I had the right to speak. That day, I drew a line in the sand. I stopped being a passive collector of English knowledge and decided to become an active practitioner of communication. I would not just practice speaking English. I would practice being confident. I started a new journey, looking for methods that focused on practical English and skills for fluency, not just academic theory. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt that gut-wrenching feeling of being a ghost in the classroom, then I need you to know you are not alone and you are in the right place. This is what we fight against here. So, before we dive into the solution, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. Become a part of English Unshackled, a community dedicated to breaking these psychological chains for good. My search for a new way led me down a path of exploring techniques from different fields: acting, public speaking, cognitive psychology, and even athletic coaching. What do all these high-performance fields have in common? They understand that skill is built through active, repetitive, and intentional practice. You don't become a great actor by just reading scripts. You don't become a great basketball player by just studying the rule book. And you don't become a confident English speaker by just consuming information. After months of frustrating experiments, I finally synthesized a system that created rapid, noticeable changes in my confidence. I call it the Confidence Activator Method. It's a powerful evolution of a technique you might have heard of called shadowing. But standard shadowing practice English is incomplete. It's often just a mimicry exercise, which is good for your English pronunciation, but doesn't build the core skill needed to generate your own thoughts under pressure. It doesn't help you think in English. My method is different. It's an active 3-part workout for your communication brain. The 3 steps are deconstruct, reconstruct, and perform. Let's break down this process into a practical system you can start using today to improve your English speaking skills dramatically. Step 1. Deconstruct. Your first task is to become a curator of confident communication. Find a short audio or video clip between 30 and 90 seconds long of a speaker you genuinely admire. This is crucial. Don't just pick someone with a clear accent. Pick someone whose energy and style you want to emulate. It could be a university professor's lecture, a CEO's TED Talk, an actor's interview. The platform doesn't matter. The speaker's compelling delivery does. This will be your training ground for natural English. Now, listen to the clip several times, but not as a passive student. Listen as a detective, an analyst. You are going to deconstruct their communication into 3 layers. Grab a notebook and write down the answers to these 3 questions. What is the core message? If you had to summarize the entire clip in one simple sentence, what would it be? Force yourself to distill their point down to its absolute essence. This trains you to listen for ideas, not just a stream of words. What is the dominant emotion or energy? Go beyond the words. What is the feeling they are projecting? Are they passionate and energetic? Calm and authoritative? Witty and charming? Empathetic and reassuring? Identify this energy because this is the fuel behind the words. What are the melodic phrases and English collocations? Listen for the music of their speech. Identify short, key phrases or groups of words that flow together beautifully. These collocations are the building blocks of sounding fluent. For example, instead of a lack that is profound, a native speaker says, a profound lack of. Note these down. Let's use a concrete example. Imagine you're watching a lecture on astrophysics, and the professor says, ultimately, what's truly staggering is not the sheer scale of the universe, but the humbling realization that the very same cosmic dust that forged distant galaxies is also, quite literally, running through our veins. Your deconstruction would look like this. Core message. We are made of the same material as the stars, which is an amazing fact. Emotion, energy, awe, wonder, intellectual excitement. Melodic phrases. What's truly staggering, the sheer scale of, the humbling realization, forged distant galaxies, running through our veins. This deconstruction process alone is a powerful form of English listening practice and will transform how you listen forever. Step 2. Reconstruct. This is the bridge. This is the step that 99% of learners skip, and it's the most critical part of the entire method. It's where you actively build the skills to speak English spontaneously. Now, I want you to put your notes and the original transcript away. Based only on your memory of the core message and the emotion, I want you to try and express that same idea in your own words. Record yourself on your phone doing it. It will be clumsy at first. It will be imperfect. That is not just okay. It is the entire point. You are forcing your brain to move from a state of passive recognition to active creation. You are building the neural pathways required to formulate thoughts on the fly. Using our astrophysics example, your reconstruction might sound something like this. The most amazing thing is not how big space is. It's when you understand that we are connected to it. The stuff that made the stars and planets is the same stuff that is inside our bodies. Look at what you just did. You took a complex idea and made it your own. You practiced the fundamental skill of English conversation. Receiving an idea and expressing it through your own unique linguistic fingerprint. This single exercise, done consistently, is more valuable than memorizing 1,000 vocabulary words. You are literally learning to think in English. Do not skip this step. The discomfort you feel is the feeling of growth. It is the feeling of your brain forging new connections. Embrace it. Step 3. Perform. Finally, after you have actively engaged with the material, you earn the right to return to the original clip, but you are not going to repeat it. You are going to perform it. This is where the acting techniques come in. Stand up. Your physiology affects your psychology. If you practice slouched on a couch, you will sound like someone slouched on a couch. Stand tall. Open your chest. Now, play the original line by line and deliver it with the same emotional energy you identified in Step 1. Don't just mimic the sounds. Embody the feeling of awe and wonder. Perform the sentence. Ultimately, what's truly staggering is not the sheer scale of the universe. As if you are the one sharing this incredible discovery with the world for the first time. Overact a little. Have fun with it. This is your safe space to experiment with a more confident version of yourself. This shadowing practice is not about achieving a perfect accent. It's about borrowing the confidence of the speaker. It's about letting your brain and body feel what it's like to speak English with authority and passion. You are creating a body memory of confidence that you can tap into during real-life situations. This is the ultimate English-speaking practice. This three-step cycle, deconstruct, reconstruct, perform, is the complete workout. It targets your listening practice, your spontaneous speech generation, skills for fluency, and your psychological confidence. It is the most direct path to mastering daily English conversations and high-stakes communication. If this methodical approach makes sense to you, if you just had a light bulb moment realizing why your old methods weren't working, please do me a small favor and hit that like button. It sends a signal to the algorithm that this is valuable content and helps our community grow. And now, for a moment of practice. Let's start building that muscle right now. In the comments section below, I want you to try Step 2, Reconstruct, with the following sentence. The barrier to entry has never been lower, but the challenge of standing out has never been greater. Pause the video, think about the core message, and write your own version in the comments. I will read and respond to as many as I can. Let's begin. So, did this method actually work for me? Let me finish the story I started. The semester after my humiliating experience in the marketing class, I was enrolled in a course on global economics. The main component of our final grade was a 20-minute high-stakes solo presentation on a complex trade policy. The old version of me would have been paralyzed by dread. I probably would have considered dropping the course. But the new me saw it as an opportunity. It was my laboratory. For 2 weeks leading up to the presentation, I didn't just write and memorize my script. That's what amateurs do. I trained for it like an athlete. I found videos of confident economists and financial journalists, people who could explain complex ideas with clarity and authority. Every day, I spent 30 minutes doing my confidence activator workout. I deconstructed their arguments. I reconstructed their key points in my own words, recording myself over and over. And then I performed my own presentation, not just reciting it to a wall, but delivering it with the borrowed energy and conviction of the experts I was studying. My shadowing English speaking practice was my secret weapon. The day of the presentation arrived. As I walked to the front of the lecture hall, I felt that familiar surge of adrenaline. My heart was pounding. But for the first time, it didn't feel like fear. It felt like excitement. It was the feeling an actor gets before the curtain rises. I took a deep breath, looked out at the faces of my classmates and my professor, and I began. The words flowed not from memory, but from a place of deep understanding and practiced confidence. I wasn't just reciting facts. I was weaving a narrative. I was making a compelling argument. I used pauses for effect. I modulated my tone. For those 20 minutes, the person speaking was finally the real me, the curious, intelligent person who was usually trapped behind the wall of silence. When I finished, there was a brief, powerful moment of silence before the room erupted in applause. It wasn't just polite clapping. It was genuine. My professor, a notoriously tough grader, was looking at me with a new level of respect. He said publicly, "That was exceptional. A masterclass in analysis and delivery. That presentation did more than just secure me an A in the class." A few weeks later, my professor emailed me personally and recommended me for a highly competitive summer internship at a prestigious economic consulting firm. I got the interview, and I used the same principles to prepare for it. I got the internship. That single presentation, born from a new method of practice, fundamentally altered the trajectory of my professional career. The moral is this: the chains that are holding you back are not real. They are constructs of your own mind. The fear of making a mistake, the fear of being judged, the obsession with finding the perfect word. These are the self-imposed barriers to your own brilliance. The method I've shared with you today is the key. It is the tool you will use to systematically break those chains, one practice session at a time. Your journey to true English fluency begins the moment you prioritize clear communication over perfect grammar. And now, for the promise I made you at the very beginning. The next time you face a situation that triggers your speaking anxiety, a job interview, a final presentation, a critical meeting, I want you to find a quiet space, even a bathroom stall, 5 minutes beforehand. I want you to close your eyes, stand up straight, and take the deepest breath you've taken all day. And then, I want you to say this sentence out loud, with conviction. My message is more important than my mistakes. Let's say it again, together. My message is more important than my mistakes. This is not a hollow affirmation. This is a cognitive reframing tool. It works by shifting your brain's focus. Your anxiety is screaming, "Focus on yourself. Focus on the danger of looking stupid." This sentence forces your brain to focus on your purpose. It reminds you that you are there to deliver value, to share an idea, to tell a story. Your message. That is the mission. Your potential mistakes are just trivial, insignificant details in comparison. So, here is your call to action. Your first step on this new path is not to study for hours. It is to take one small, manageable action. Tonight or tomorrow, find a single, 1-minute video of a speaker you admire. Just one. And take it through the 3 steps. Deconstruct, reconstruct, and perform. That's it. That's your first rep. That's your first victory. Post "done" in the comments when you've completed your first session. You have a universe of ideas, insights, and personality trapped inside you. Stop letting a correctable fear keep it from the world. Stop waiting for the perfect time or for some external validation. The academic and professional life you dream of is waiting for you to literally speak it into existence. Believe in yourself, because I absolutely believe in you. Thank you for dedicating this time to yourself. If this session was valuable, please subscribe to English Unshackled and join our movement. We are not just learning English. We are unlocking our true voices. Now go out there and let them hear what you have to say. You are, and always have been, unstoppable.